King, it's a lot of suckers out here with their money, and you can't be no sucker out here with your money.
Bro, I ain't no sucker. Bet you I don't.
Okay. What's assets?
Assets are things that bring money into your bank account.
What's liabilities?
Liabilities are things that take money out your bank account.
Entrepreneurship is the act of becoming an entrepreneur. What's entrepreneurship?
Entrepreneurship is a process of setting up a business or businesses.
Taking on a greater than normal.
Financial risk.
What's an entrepreneur?
Entrepreneur is a person that organizes and operates a business or businesses.
Also taking on a greater than normal.
Financial risk.
What's financial mean?
Money.
And what's risk mean?
Chance.
Come on. What does it mean to own stock?
When you own a share of a company.
Come on. What's real estate investing?
Real estate investing is when you invest in a immovable property.
What's the two types of real estates?
Commercial real estate and residential real estate.
What's commercial real estate?
Commercial real estate is property for businesses and workspace, like an office, store, or land.
And what's residential real estate?
Property to live on, like a house, apartment, or condominium.
Come on. It comes with extra fees when you have real estate, you feel me?
Mm-hmm.
Daddy tells you how many times he pays his state property tax a year.
Once a year.
What's the type of maintenance fee?
Cutting grass.
Come on. What's HOA?
Homeowner Association.
And what comes along with that?
HOA fee.
Come on. And when it comes to the brokerage percent, what percent is that?
7.
Come on. What's equity?
Equity is the difference between what your business is worth minus what you own.
Also assets minus?
Liabilities and debt.
Good job. What's credit report?
Credit report is like a report card letting you know how well you did by paying your money back you borrowed.
And how does credit affect your life?
The better you keep your credit, the more opportunities you'll have to get funding.
And what? Large purchases like?
A car or a house.
Come on. And always repay what you
owe.
Because if you owe somebody, that means you're in
debt.
And you never want to be in
debt.
Because that means you
owe somebody.
And we don't never owe
somebody.
Because that ain't what suckers do, period. Come on.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man. There we are again. and I say this every week. I just love that. That it's about financial literacy.
Absolutely.
And teaching people how to handle their money. Well, hello. Thank you for being with us again today. I have a very, very special guest. His name is Raymond Smith. He's Vice President of Community Development for Park Community Federal Credit Union. Not only is Raymond a great business person, he's also pastor of Broadway Christian Church in Winchester, Kentucky. And to top it all off, he's a frat brother. he's what we call a good bro. You know?
Thank you, George. I appreciate
well,
that.
You're very, very welcome. And again, Ray, what we do and why this is so important is because regardless of your ethnicity, this is not a racial thing. People are not financially literate.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And let me say, I'm very grateful to have the opportunity of being on the show. The prelude to that is absolutely excellent. The young lady being asked the questions and being able to answer them, instilling that in her at a young age is so important, right? Because what's in you comes out of you. And so it was great to see that. And again, let me say thank you for allowing me to be a part of this. What you just said is one of the things I share all the time is that money matters, right? And it's no respecter. I say to people all the time, here's the questions that you need to know. Does your money control you, or do you control your money? And there's a difference in doing that. I mean, if your money controls you, that means you're working for free, basically. I'm working, but it controls me to pay X, Y, Z, A, B, C, and I've never been able to enjoy it. If I'm controlling my money, then I'm able to do the things I want to do, whether it's purchase, whether it's vacations, whether it's retirement, I'm controlling it. So one of the things that I say all the time when I sit down and speak and talk to the individuals, do you want your money controlling you, or do you want to control it?
That is absolutely correct. And all the principles that we've shared over the last now 8 to 10 weeks have to do with how you control your money and how you can live a better life. We always talk about changing your mindset. Every week you're going to hear me say the same thing about changing your thinking, that in order for you to get to where you need to be, believe that you can be there and change your thinking as it relates to it. What we're going to talk a little bit about today, and we have so much to talk about. I don't know if I can get it in 45 minutes. Well, at Park Community Federal Credit Union, they offer a lot of things that can help you with your money so you can make great decisions. So first of all, kind of share with the audience the difference between working with a bank and working with a credit union.
Yeah, good question. And a lot of times that's the thing that comes up to me is what's the difference in you all? And I will say from experience, I'm an old banker, right? So I spent 20 plus years in banking before I tease my colleagues before I saw the light and came over to the credit union. One of the biggest difference, and I'm teasing, all of them are good. And so every financial institution has something that works for them. And I say to people all the time that I don't look to replace anywhere anybody is. I just want to be a tool in your tool belt because you can't build a house with one tool, but all have advantages. One of the biggest differences in a bank and a credit union is that a bank is for profit. A bank has stockholders, a bank has paid board members. A credit union is a not-for-profit. We're not a nonprofit, we're a not-for-profit, right? So we have to make enough money to pay the staff, to keep the lights on, to pay the bills. But we're a not-for-profit, and because of that, our board are volunteers. And so we're able, the money that the credit union makes is able to be poured back into the different products, the different services that we have that benefit the community. The credit union is a membership, right? Just like you have an account at the bank, you become a member at the credit union. One of the things that's so beautiful about once you become a member is that when it comes to voting and stockholders, if you're a member, you get one vote. If you've got $5 in there, the person that may have $1 million in there gets one vote. So it's equal when it comes to that. So people ask me all the time, what does it take to become a part of Park Community Credit Union? That $5. $5 makes you a member. The $5 goes into a savings account for you. And if you ever decide, well, I don't want to be a part of Park anymore, I'm moving it somewhere else, you get the $5 back. That goes to you. So it truly is your money, $5 into a savings account, and that makes you a member of Park.
Let me tell you one thing I have noticed of those folks who are members of credit unions. You can't get them out. You know?
Yeah.
Once they become members of a credit union, for an example, my wife is a member of a credit union. She became a member of a credit union a number of years ago, long before she met me. And though we share everything that we do, she still keeps her credit union account. Yeah. Because that's where she first learned a lot of financial literacy, and that's where she got a lot of information she needs moving forward.
It's really interesting to say that because you're exactly right. There are individuals that have been with credit unions and don't leave them once they taste it, right? And so once you get a chance to experience it, credit unions have evolved, though. I will say that is that credit unions at one point were known for, you know, the checking and the savings accounts, the car loans. But credit unions have evolved. I tell people all the time, we do everything that a bank does. We just are, because of the way we're structured, and all credit unions are a little different. We have the same motto. Every credit union has the motto of people helping people, right? People helping people. And I say to people all the time, it's not about profit. When you take care of the people, you become profitable later. And I know we're going to talk about some of the products and services a little later that we offer, but the credit unions have evolved into the point now that they do, again, everything that a bank can do.
So it's not by accident that right in the title or the description of your company, you got the word community right in the middle of there.
Yeah.
And it's and you've been a big part of our community, a part of our church community. Kind of share with us just briefly what makes Park a little different and some of the things that Park has done to help the members of St. Stephen Baptist Church.
Well, you know, one of the things that we like, that we say simply, is it's Park Community Credit Union, right? And one of the things that we believe in is listening. And so where so many were coming out of areas, we were looking to come into the area. And I'm very thankful that, you know, we had an opportunity of meeting with Dr. Cosby and talking at St. Stephen's and looking at some of the needs that they have and looking at ways in which we could partner in. It's a partnership, right? It's about relationships. I tell people all the time, you can do business with anybody, George, right?
Absolutely.
But relationships have their privileges. And so we don't look to do business. We look to develop relationships. And relationships are quid pro quo. And so as we continue to meet with Dr. Cosby, meeting at St. Stephen's, we actually became the official credit union for St. Stephen's. We were able to put in an ITM, and I applaud Dr. Cosby because we've put that in the Family Life Center, but it's the ITM for the California neighborhood. It's not just for the church. And people ask me all the time, so what's the ITM? And I tell them it's as our CEO likes to say, it's an ATM on steroids, right? It's an ATM 24 hours a day, but you actually get a live teller from 8 o'clock in the morning to 7 o'clock at night. When you go to use it like an ITM, you actually talk to one of our tellers.
Wow.
Yeah, so you're actually talking face to face with one of our tellers, whereas with a ATM, you only get certain increments of dollar bills that come out. With the ITM, with that, it's almost, it again is like you've been in front of the teller window. So you can say, I need 4 quarters. I want to take $1.50 out of my account. They're able, because it's one of our live tellers, are able to give you exactly what you're asking for. So we have a lot of individuals now within not just the church, but within the community that's what they use as their financial institution. I love coming over. I come over and we set up a couple of times a month where we set a table up so that people don't have to come to the credit union. We've taken automobile application, mortgage applications, small business loans applications, and we do it on site right here in the community so that people don't have to come to us. We bring the financial institution to them.
It is very, very important to Dr. Cosby, to all of us at St. Stephen Baptist Church, that we have resources in our community where you don't need to leave our community to do business.
That's right.
You know, there are people who do great business who look like me.
Yeah.
And look like you.
That's right.
And we want, this is no hit on any other ethnicity. It's not. But if you're in a community, there's power in unity, and you can get it done right here in the California Community Center.
Absolutely. One of the things that we love early on, here's what we learned, and as we were moving through with putting this in place. And so the first night we came, I loved this. A gentleman came in and he wanted to borrow money. And the money that he wanted to borrow were for hearing aids. Yeah, right. There was a need. And he actually had mentioned to us when he came in there was a need, and he said that no other financial institution we went to borrow, even where he was banking, were not lending money for that purpose. First for the dollar figure, and then they said, well, we don't know how we're going to be able to secure that. We can't use your hearing aids for that.
It's security.
Yeah. So he heard about Park being here. He came. He sat down and talked with us, and we approved him for the hearing aids. They were going to ask him to come to one of our branches to close the loans, and he said, I don't have a car. We said, not a problem. We'll be at St. Stephen's to do your loan closing in one of the conference rooms. So that then kicked us off of actually literally being here to do everything from not just talking and taking applications, but we actually close the loans here.
I mean, that is a incredible story. Thank you for sharing it with us. I understand that you also work with HBCUs.
Well,
how do you do that?
Well, we're happy to say this, right? The historical black colleges and universities. One of the things as we came on, we're so grateful and thankful for this opportunity. There are 2 HBCUs in the state of Kentucky. One being Simmons College of Kentucky, the other Kentucky State University. And I'm happy to say that Park Community Credit Union is the official credit union of both of the HBCUs in the state of Kentucky. And we're not just the credit union where we're receiving, as you heard me say about the quid pro quo, we have a relationship. So as the official credit union of both of those both of those higher learning educational facilities, we do everything from providing scholarships to working with bringing Park on campus to both of those institutions and working with the students as well. Matter of fact, this last summer, we had at Park 5 students from Simmons College. Some of them were in the finance area. And some of them I had the chance of working with in the community development. So they had a chance of traveling with me every day from southern Indiana down to Berea, Kentucky. And I've always asked the members ahead of time, are you okay with an intern sitting in? And most of them said yes. So they were actually able to sit in and listen to me take loan applications. One of the things I would say to them after they went through some training with me was, is this something you think we should do? And so I got a chance to really even teach them on decisions and how you go about making decisions in loan approval. So it's a lot of fun. They were able to learn. They were superb young people, and we're going to continue to do that as well.
Man, now that's what I call a partnership.
Yeah.
That is a true partnership when you're developing relationships with folks. Tell me a little bit about your products. Do you offer the same products that you get from any other bank or financial institution?
Well, we do that, George, but then we also go a little further. One of the things that I'm grateful to say about Park is, and you heard me say I'm an old banker, and so unfortunately a lot of financial institutions have gone into what I call a silo. And so a line of business that when you come in to borrow, they look to see what line of business do you fall in. I mean, so they have silos that they meet the demand. Well, that puts you in a box. One of the things that I say about Park is we don't know there's a box. One of the things that we do is to see what is it that you need, and we look to put something together to meet that need. And I'll give an example of that. We'll do everything from A to Z. When I first came on with Park, one of the first loans that our branch did when we came in was a veteran that needed some financial assistance. He only needed $200 because his check didn't come in. You actually lose money putting that kind of loan on the books. It takes more to put that on the books than we would earn off of that. But it was a need that he had until he got his government check. We made the loan, he paid it back off. I say that to say the creativity. We have a loan that we call a micro commercial loan. Why is it important? Because a lot of financial institutions, the minimum loan would be somewhere in the area of $50,000, $75,000, $100,000 from a business side, because if not, they're really kind of losing money on it. So we're able to do those type of loans again. I don't want anybody to think that we can't do the large loan. You need $1 million, couple of million, we can help you with that. But we saw the need for the business owner that needed either to start up some capital or to just inject capital. So we created what we call a micro commercial loan. That loan allows you to borrow up to $10,000. So it's a small loan for we call it a micro commercial, up to $10,000. We set it up over a 3-year period of time. The interest rate is only 3.99%, but now watch this. We also use it as a training tool of the importance of borrowing and paying back as agreed. When you pay that loan back as agreed, we actually refund you 100% of your interest. So you're actually getting an interest-free loan. And so when I first introduced that at one of the meetings downtown, there were some other bankers on the panel with me, and they said, well, wait a minute. How are you making money? And I said to them, we're not making money on this. We're losing money on this particular product, but it is a need. And then I went on to tell them, when you take care of the people, you'll become profitable later. We're all about relationships. So we saw that there was a need there, and we created a product that met that need. From a mortgage standpoint, you asked me some of the...
I can't, man, don't read my mind. That was my next question, all right?
Well, you know, and I appreciate it. One of the things that another creativity, we are as I said, a credit union. So one of the things we have the ability of doing are keeping in-house products. Whereas a lot of times you'll go to a financial institution, they'll sell it off to a secondary market. So they really not controlling it anymore. They put the loan together, they sell it off. Unfortunately, then what happens when you have a real need and come back in, your relationship really isn't still with that financial institution because they've sold the loan off.
I've been there. I've done it.
Yeah. And so now I need some help. I need to talk to somebody, but the person and the company I came in to deal with in the initial part of this is no longer the one I'm working with, right? So now I'm working with someone in California, or New York, or Florida, or other parts of the country. So one of the things that we do is that we in-house a lot of our products. We keep them in-house. So we make the decision, and I love that. So I'm not sending a loan to Minneapolis or to Chicago to get an approval. We do it right there at Park. So one of the things that we're able to do is put together mortgage loans and mortgage products that meet that need, and we actually service them as well. So we actually started by doing a loan that we call the Russell Initiative, because we saw a need. There was a need. The community came to us when they started doing the revitalization in the West End. We then started hearing, learned, as you talked about with St. Stephen's, the California neighborhood, Shawnee. So we created a West End Initiative mortgage product. Again, different. The West End Initiative mortgage product will allow us to lend 125% of the value of the property. And why is it important? Because a lot of the homes need some fixing up. So we'll lend $100,000 to purchase it, up to $100,000 of purchasing it. We'll do an additional $20,000 that we escrow for you to refurbish and fix up your home. Here's the good news though, Jordan. We will lend 100% of that, up to 125% in the West End, 100%, no PMI.
No PMI.
No PMI. We will assist with up to $2,000 of your closing costs. Now watch this. And you can have a credit score of 585.
No.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it really is kind of unheard of. I like to tease with that because right now, particularly as we're dealing with the pandemic, and some of my colleagues and some of my buddies in the banking world will call me and say, Ray, you mind talking to some of the customers we have, because one guy told me, he said, man, we've increased our mortgage product, the credit score, to 700. You got to have a minimum of 700. And I'm up here telling them that, no, you can have a 585 and to be able to utilize this product. And for those that have never bought a home, 585 really is an unheard of credit score. But again, it's a way of us helping people helping people. It's about people, not profit. And so again, we look for ways to be creative of trying to assist individuals gain access to capital. One of the things that I hear all the time when I'm in the community, and I know I'm talking way too long.
No, I want to. This is great. I'm listening. Let me cross my legs and just listen. This is.
One of the things that
she said it doesn't happen.
One of the things that I would say though is that, George, is that I go to a lot of meetings and I hear people talk about, opportunities, and there are a lot of opportunities. But if you don't have access to the opportunities, if you don't have access to capital, it's not worth the paper you write it on. So one of the things that we try to make sure that happens at Park is that not only are there opportunities, we want to make sure that we put in place access, the vehicle of borrowing money, to be able to create some financial wealth, to get you in a position of being able to move forward, to get you out of the situation that you're currently in. I tell people all the time, and they hear me say it at Park all the time, we don't say no. Sometimes we have to say not now. But if you follow steps, we don't ever say not now and not give you a plan of following steps 1, 2, 3. And when you follow steps 1, 2, 3, then we put the deal together for you, or whether it's 1, 2. So we don't say no. Sometimes we have to say not now. But the majority of times what we're seeing is that, particularly in the mortgage area, people come in thinking there is no hope for them and find out that we're able to put the deal together. So I like to say all the time that my tagline, and they see it internally, is that there's hope for the hopeless. I don't want anybody to ever think that there's no hope for them. There's hope for the hopeless. And all I encourage you to do is give me a call, and we'll sit down and see what we can do to help you.
Man, that is incredible. The way people have built wealth, if your mom or your daddy, your grandmama and granddaddy didn't have it, the way people have created wealth is through property.
Yes.
Period.
That's right.
The way most the other folks who don't look like us, who created wealth years ago because they had access to capital.
Bingo.
That we didn't have access to.
Right.
Now, what you're telling me is that Park Community Federal Credit Union is providing an avenue, a roadmap, where instead of you paying $1,000 or $800 to someone else who owns that property, and you're building their wealth,
yeah,
now you can take that same amount of money and build your own.
That's correct. That's correct. And what happens is that now you've started that creation of wealth, because what happens now, I start owning something. I start building equity. I'm able to start passing down some things from generation to generation, utilizing the equity that we have in place to buy something different.
All right. So tell me a little bit about, all right, when people come in and my credit number is 600, all right, and I haven't had an opportunity, and sometimes we talked about mindset. You feel defeated walking in the door, but just listening to this, and they're probably sharing this with some other folks who know they need it. Talk a little bit about interest rates and what's that look like compared to some other financial institutions.
Yeah, let me say this, and it's an excellent question. I'm happy to say, because a lot of times when people are given opportunities, they pay a higher interest rate, right? There is a well, let me just be direct. It's predatory lending, right? So you've got institutions that capitalize on those that need the assistance the most. You've got some entities that prey, and I'm not talking about P-R-A-Y, they P-R-E-Y on the community. And so they're charging for you to come in to be able to borrow some money. They make it easy for you to get it. But what they're not telling you is that they're charging you over 400% because they're not regulated. They make it easy. They give you what you need. But now you're paying over 400% interest to be able to try to pay that back. And it's almost, George, like having a drug addiction or whatever your addiction may be. It's hard to get out of it once you get in it. And so one of the things that we've put in place is a thing called QCash that helps pay off the predatory lenders, those that you're involved with that are charging you over 400%, those that are charging you 25 and 30%. So I say that to say what you're hearing me talk about on the products, like that first step mortgage is what I just described, the up to 125%, that's a first step. The beauty of that is, even though we're saying the credit score can be 585, they get the same rate as what our mortgage rates are. We don't charge you more because of that. Here's a product we put in place to help you. We want to help. We don't want to hinder. And so these products are the current rate of what we do. And so are there times where there's a higher interest rate? Yeah, there's some risk involved. You're going to pay a little more for that, but nowhere near what you would be doing with predatory lenders. What I was saying about to say was that we have this thing called QCash, where if you're trying to get from under the predatory lenders, that you can join Park, and after you're a member of Park for 6 months, you're able to. You don't even have to come in. You can do about 4 clicks on your cell phone to pay them off, and now become a member, get a loan to pay that credit off. We have what we call credit rehab loans, credit rebuilders. Let me get that right. A credit rebuilders loan, again, where those that have had problems in the past with the credit. I told you steps 1, 2, 3. We put them in a thing called credit rebuilders, where they're able to borrow money. And one of our programs not allows them to borrow money. The way in which the savings plan is set up, they borrow the money, they get credit reestablished, and have up to $1,500 in the savings account when they get through. So I guess I'm saying, when we go back to what is the rates, do you pay sometimes higher rate? Yeah, you do, but that's risk in lending, right? So there's but it's all governed by what we do from the standpoint of we're not doing anywhere near predatory lending at Park.
So let me see if I'm hearing you correctly. Not only am I going to help you to get access to capital, I'm going to help you with your mortgage. I'm going to help you to increase that credit number, because we've talked about that, Brother Smith, about the importance of working on your credit rating number. You know, that an example. You know, talking about an auto loan. I had a person who worked for me a number of years ago, and credit wasn't very good. So she goes and she purchases a car, a 8-year-old BMW, Nice looking car, you know, until 3 months later, it wasn't working.
Right.
And what she did is she paid $12,000 for that car. She did it at a 15% interest rate because she didn't have good credit. Now her payments was over $400 a month, and that money cost her $4,000. Now she has a car that's worth probably 8 or 9, you know, wholesale, that she owes $15,000 on because of the high interest rate. So tell me a little bit about that. If for an example, and people got to understand how interest rates really work. Though that was a 15% interest rate, when you talk about the amount of money they paid back, it ended up being more like 33%.
Yeah, it's factoring in the yield. A lot of times places will sell you the payment versus selling you what you really can afford.
That's what I want you to talk about.
And so you'll go to some places and they ask, first thing they say is, how much can you afford to pay? And they'll put you in the product or put you in the vehicle that meets what you're saying, not knowing that the day that you drive that off the lot, depreciation happens. One of the things that I really want to emphasize to the community, why not invest in something that appreciates versus depreciate?
Get back to
We do a lot of that when we talk about financial education. So we provide that at no cost of financial education to be able to talk specifically about the things that you're asking about. We do that at no cost. We come to the community, whether it's a community center, whether it's coming to the Family Life Center, the churches, we do that. We provide that financial education because it's important to understand how your money works. You know, and you heard me say, did your money control you, or do you control your money, right? And if you're not understanding what my disposable income is, what my debt ratio needs to be able to service this, right? So you have a debt ratio, and the debt ratio is what you have coming in versus what you have going out.
Gotcha.
When you're making a decision from a lending standpoint, you don't really want to see that ratio to be higher than 40%. Everybody's got a debt ratio. Some may be 10%, some may be 80%. Right? But what you want to do is get that ratio down below that 40%, which means when it's time to take a vacation, I can do it.
Gotcha.
If something pops up and I have to pay to fix my house, or I need to fix my car, then I have some additional disposable income, right? So now I'm not tied to the paycheck of me having to pay it out all the time. So it's important that when you going back to the car dealership, is to make sure you know what's the value of the car. Why pay more for something than it's worth? So how do I find that out? Having a relationship with your financial institution allows you to pick up the phone. I'm looking at buying this car. This is what they're asking for it. It's not worth that. And they're able to hear from us, this is what the value of that car is, right? And so when you have a relationship, and there's a pastor we just teased last week I was working with, that when he went to the lot and they tried to do that with him, he said, you don't need to talk to me, you need to talk to my finance guy. And they gave the phone to me, and I said, your tough job today is not trying to sell him or find out if he can finance it. Your charge today is going to be trying to find something that'll keep him on your lot, because he's good enough to get whatever he needs on his lot.
I love that.
But it goes back to relationships.
Well, as I said, we have so much to go over. We can't get it all in. Tell me, what are some of the mistakes that when people walk in the door and you see the application there, and sometimes that application can be very frightening, you know? How do you do to get away from the fright? How do you do to make people feel comfortable, number one? And then number two, what are some of the mistakes that people have made prior to getting there, and you can help them with?
Well, I think that many times, and again, we all bump our heads, right? We all make mistakes. And so what happens a lot of times is that we want something so bad that we don't want to walk away from it. One of the greatest abilities that we can have is the ability of saying no, right? And going back to your cars, there are a gazillion car lots. one of the scariest things for the salesperson on the lot is for you to say, no, I'm going to think about this and I'll get back with you, because statistically they know if you walk away, the chances of you coming back are slim to none. You'll go somewhere else. When you have a relationship with a financial institution, it's always good to pick up the phone to be on the same page with them when you go on the lot, so you can hear it, so they can say to you, this is what's affordable for you. This is what I can pre-approve you for. Whether you're doing a house, whether you're doing a car, I'm getting pre-approved ahead of time so that I know what's in my means of being able to repay debt. And so how do we do that? Again, we go back to the financial education piece. So we look at everything, and I love to call it of everything from my wants and my needs. And it's always interesting because the needs thing that you have to pay is about this long, because I give a sheet and we do this as we do the financial education, and the flexible expenses of my wants are about this long, right? You know, but the needs are only this. And so when I do it, I love having fun with it. People will say, oh, I gotta have that. And I say, no, you don't have to have it, right? I don't have to spend that for lunch. You ever thought about taking your lunch? I don't have to go, now I'm going to get in trouble with the ladies, I don't have to go to the beautician. I tease them and say, y'all don't remember the days when folk used to sit in the kitchen? Straightening combs used to be on the stove? I got some looks right now. Okay, let me move on. But
Sharon Bell looked at us like he has lost his mind.
So we talk about flexible and we talk about fixed. One of the things I also want to say, though, Brother George, is that we do this very closely with our faith-based community as well. I do what we call biblical economics.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah, there are some principles that I say all the time. God always gives us first the command, then there's the blessings. Too many times we want the blessings without following the commands. And so in biblical economics, he puts us in place of what we ought to be doing, right? So when I'm speaking and doing biblical economics at the church and the faith-based community, one of the things that I talk about that is a fixed expense are your tithe and your offerings. Now people are talking, now wait a minute, now you're talking about money. No, I'm talking about a blessing for you, right? Okay, so we actually will talk about Malachi. Bring you all the tithes to the storehouse, that there may be meat in my house, and prove me. It's one of the few times God says, test me on this.
He does.
Prove me now, herewith said the Lord of hosts,
I could almost
if
shout
I
on this
will
one.
not open up the windows of heaven
He has.
and pour you out such a blessing that you won't have room enough to receive it. Now, if that ain't enough to shout about right there all by itself, then he goes on and says, and I'll rebuke the devourer for your sake, not for his. He's going to keep him off of you, which means when the adversaries come up on you, he just get off of him. That's my child, right? Okay, now, so some people say to me, yeah, Raymond, but that's Old Testament. I say, okay, well, let's go to the New Testament. He who soweth sparingly shall reap sparingly. He who sows bountifully shall reap bountifully. Let every man give as he proposes in his heart, not grudgingly or out of necessity, for God loves a
Cheerful giver.
Talk to me in here. He loves a cheerful giver, right? And so I have fun with the children sometimes. I share with them. I said, now, the children don't even know me, right? But I will do this exercise sometime with them. And I'll give a few dollars to a child. And at offering time, I'll tell the church, now watch this child. The child comes up swinging, dancing, and when they get to the offering plate, they don't squeeze a dollar to hollers. If you give them $5 to put in, guess what they do?
They put it right out.
Put all 5 in and walk away, right? You did. I laugh.
My mama did me like that for years.
Yeah. And I love to tease.
And
I love to
father.
tease some of the members, and I say, now you squeezing that dollar to the hollers, and they walk to the offering plate and drop it in so that you won't even see what's going in there. That's okay. But too many times we want without giving. And he wants to see that our heart's in the right place. So we do biblical economics as well, and we will talk about principles within the Bible that we should be doing. And those are fixed expenses, not a flexible expense, and many have reaped the benefit of doing that. We've done everything from cutting up credit cards, because we did that, so that on the tithe and offering, we also had a bowl. And when people came up and put the tithe and offering in, they could put their credit card in. And we had a cutting up with a credit card ceremony, but we would then sit down one-on-one. And one of the ones I love to talk about is the first person to do that had more than one credit card. We called them all up. But not only did she go from consolidating debt, but she was able to buy a home, and her disposable income went up because of her commitment.
That's what I'm talking about. First of all, well, let's go back to what you said. How did we start this conversation? Do you want to be in control of your money,
right,
or do you want your money to control you?
That's correct.
Do you want, and we've said it many times on this program, do you want to control the narrative? Do you? Or do you want someone else to control the narrative?
Yeah.
And there are principles that work if you do it. It's all about change. Change. And I'm going to spend just a little time on change. I did a program a number of years ago, and don't have the time to go over all of it, but we talked about change and the importance of it. All right? So there are times when change, almost all the time, is accompanied by fear and anxiety, because it's difficult to make changes. But it's only three things, from my perspective, Brother Smith, that I'm 100% sure about in this life. Ain't but three.
Okay.
That I'm 100% sure about. I know there is God.
Oh, yeah.
Right? I know that for a fact, because I'm sitting here because of the love of Jesus Christ.
That's right.
Number one. Number two is one day I'm going to leave this earth.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know when, hope it ain't no time soon. But one day I'm going to be gone. And number three, things are going to change. I cannot control change. Every now and then when I look in the mirror, I'll go, well, when did that happen? You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Because you don't really see yourself the way you think you really look sometimes. So it's important to be a change agent. Changing means getting away from renting and buying.
Right.
Changing means not using that credit card on things you want rather than things you need.
That's right.
Right?
Right.
Changing is understanding that if you pay your bills on time, now you can get money at a cheaper rate.
That's right.
Than you can on people who don't. That when you buy a car, you're not really buying a car, you're buying the money to buy the car.
That's right.
That's why they should come to you first and say, well, what can I do and what can I buy? Now that gives you power when you go on that lot, when you know I got $26,000 or $18,000 and that's all I got. And you can look at it, because you're right. When you walk off that lot, you ain't coming back.
That's right.
And you tell them I got this, now they got to negotiate with you. You're rather than them negotiate with you, right? So this is how you do it. Be proactive. Don't sit at home.
That's right.
Get it done, Don't say, oh, God bless me, and you don't do no work. All right? Don't do that. Number two, and we talk about this all the time, cultivate big thinking. Think large. Think large. It's okay not reaching a star as long as you got a star to reach.
That's right.
Yeah. Benjamin Mays.
No, I like that, because I've said all along when I do speeches and talking to students and talking at different activities outside the church, I would tell them, your goal ought to be reaching for the stars. Reach for the stars. If you fall a little short, the sky's not bad.
That ain't bad.
But if you only reach for the top of the trees and you fall short, you're back on the same plane that you started. You touched upon people having goals. That's what we have to have. Start having some goals. I want to be a homeowner. I may rent today, but I want to be a homeowner. Now I need to sit with somebody that can help me get to where I need to be. And you do that by establishing a relationship versus doing business. I did this early on, and I was teaching, and I share this with individuals. How do I start a relationship? Most of us use branches. I tell them, I said, when you go into a branch, ask to see the manager. ask to see the manager when you don't need anything. And I said, it blows their mind. I said, because too many times people only want to see the manager when there's a problem or a challenge. But you walk in, might see the manager. Oh, you're the manager? Brother George, I just want to say, how are you? My name is Raymond Smith. I'm one of your members. I don't need anything. I'm just coming to say hi, just to introduce you as one of your customers, right? What will happen is that every time you come in after that, Brother George, the manager's going, Brother George, right? And so they're going to get to know you because all you did was simply take time to start creating a relationship. Now, when you need something, oh yeah, that's Brother George. We need to take care of him.
The margin of success is very slim.
That's right.
I said this to my son, my oldest son, today, because he talked about what he does in his business and the little things he does. And I said, Chris, it doesn't take a lot.
Yeah.
You don't have to give people 150% more. Give people 10% more consistently, and you see what happens to you.
Yeah, people do business with people they know and trust.
That's right. That's right. Changing your thinking is hard. Albert Einstein said, thinking is hard. The reason thinking is so hard is because so few people do it.
That's good.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Expose yourself to good input. Expose yourself to good thinking, good thoughts, and good acts. The most valuable resource you bring anywhere is your creativity. It's your imagination.
Yeah.
Everything starts with what you're thinking, your imagination.
I talked to a young person one time along that lines, and they were coming into the bank to talk with me, and we had a very good conversation. And one of the things I shared with them is, try this. And I know that we're in a different generation and how we dress and so forth. But I said to the young man, I said, dress for the position you want to be in, not the position of what you're doing. And he was like, well, I said, what you want to aspire to be, right? So if I'm aspiring to sit, because he came in and told me, I want to do what you're doing. I want your job. I said, if you're aspiring to do this, then carry yourself in this manner. Although you're only doing this right now, your goal ought to be, going back to what your statement of goal is, where I want to be, not where I am right now.
When I got the job, and then we're about to close, guys, because I could go for another hour and a half. This is good stuff, Brother Smith.
Bless you, bless you.
When I got the, just a true story, I'm going to share it with the group. When I got the job as the general sales manager at WAMZ Radio, a country radio station, in 1990, 32-year-old African American, I saw myself sitting in my boss's chair. Yeah. I literally saw me. Every time he got out of that chair, I thought, that's my chair. I truly believed I was worthy and I had the skill set enough to get that job. And that's where it all starts. Is you believing you can get there. So dress the part, look the part, act the part. It's called putting yourself in a position to be blessed.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting to say that because, you know, you heard me say that we had interns from Simmons, and I got to applaud Simmons, and I've told Dr. Cosby over and over the way in which the interns from Simmons, how they handled themselves, how they presented themselves, how they acted day in and day out, made us say we would take them back tomorrow. And for the record, it's a paid internship, so it's not like they were doing it just for class credit. Right. It was a paid internship. But you're exactly right. The way in which they conducted themselves, the way in which they carried themselves is so important. And Simmons students did it well.
Well, Brother Smith, my good friend.
Yes, sir.
My business partner, and more important, or just important than anything, my frat brother. All right, just thank you for being here today. This is the whole audience felt just to be very informative. If you need help with starting a business, do not go to predatory lenders anymore. He has a program that he'll help you pay that off. He gave a man a $200 loan. Not only, but this is the part he didn't say about that. Doing that, it helped him to build his credit number because he paid it off in time.
That's right.
And that business loan is up to $10,000, and if you pay it on time, they're going to give you your interest back.
Yeah.
There's a book out. I can't remember the author, and I wish I could, but it's titled "No More Excuses."
Yeah, that's right.
There are no more excuses. We have the solution.
Well, I appreciate that, and it's been a pleasure being here. I will say, now again, the 10,000 loading is just a stepping stone, and I'm glad you brought that up because a member of St. Stephen's, he tells me I can talk about him all the time. He's actually on the cover of one of our brochures. Started with a micro loan until he was able now to be able to go get a full-blown revolving line of credit that made him a Tier 1 supplier for the city of Louisville. So those opportunities are there. Let me say this in closing, and I certainly appreciate this. I want the audience to know, God will blow your mind if you let him.
Oh.
Let God blow your mind by doing the principles of things that we're instructed to do. He'll blow your mind and wants to blow your mind. But first there's always the command, then there's the blessing. And we want to reap the rewards of what God has in store for us.
I can't do it but shout on that, and we close. What cut?